Hi guys, hope you are well. Seeing as it's a new year, I'm going to try a few different things this year on my channel, I think. And one of those I've been considering is instead of doing the bite-sized chunks of clips on different topics, bundling it all into one video. So different topics still, but all in one video. So I'm going to try that today. I might try it a few more times. Keen to hear your feedback if you prefer the shorter separate videos or to put all of the topics in one video as I'm doing today. So let me know your feedback on this format in the comments below. Now, a huge reaction on the channel yesterday to the story of the EU flag going up at the Arc de Triomphe. Now, of course, hardline Remainers would have you believe that post-Brexit, there's been no rise in Euroscepticism in the continent at all. In actual fact, as I've repeatedly highlighted, whether you look at Hungary, whether you look at the Polish governments, big friction now with the EU. Clear that Eurosceptic sentiment is rising, including in France, where, of course, Emmanuel Macron has adopted a bash the British approach in the run-up to the French presidential election. A French presidential election, everyone seems to be running as a Eurosceptic candidate apart from Macron. And so I think it's quite telling that the EU flag going up at the Arc de Triomphe was so controversial in France. And of course, we saw also the EU flag put on the Eiffel Tower as France takes over the 6-month EU presidency. Now, such was the backlash of this in France. This is quite extraordinary when you think about it. The backlash was so large that the EU flag has already been removed from the Arc de Triomphe. Eurosceptic challengers to Emmanuel Macron, the main challengers, according to the polls, are lining up and hailing this as a victory. For instance, you've had Marine Le Pen call it a great victory at the dawn of 2022, saying the government was forced to remove the flag of the European Union from the Arc de Triomphe. Thank you, she said, to the massive mobilisation of all lovers of France and the Republic to roll back Emmanuel Macron. Valérie Pécresse, the Conservative candidate, the Republicans candidate at the French presidential election, who, of course, I've previously highlighted in the latest poll, head-to-head with Macron, she actually is on course to defeat Macron. She responded to the flag going up by saying, presiding over Europe, yes, erasing French identity, no. I solemnly ask Emmanuel Macron to restore our tricolour flag next to that of Europe under the Arc de Triomphe. We owe it to all our fighters who shed their blood for him. And then she came back after the flag was removed and said, Emmanuel Macron has a problem with the history of France. Unlike him, I don't want a France dissolved in Europe. I want a strong France and a powerful Europe. This is our strength. It's to be patriots and Europeans. And what I think is telling about this is, again, you'll have some in the UK mainstream media that say, you know, Eurosceptic sentiment and the EU aren't factors in European elections. Seems to me the scale of this backlash over this EU flag ahead of the French presidential election shows you, I think, even in France, along with other countries in the EU, the rise of Eurosceptic sentiment in the mainstream of political discourse. Of course, huge controversy over Tony Blair being awarded knighthood. A big petition against this, as of course you would suspect. At time of recording, that such is the feeling against this, that over 370,000 signatures for a knighthood for Tony Blair to be scrapped. And as Tim Montgomery points out, the absurdity of this says so much about the establishment that Nigel Farage, Mr. Brexit, still hasn't been in any way honoured despite his massively consequential contribution to our politics. I mean, it's a joke, isn't it? I highlighted yesterday the latest devastating polling that has the Conservatives currently on course for 100 plus seats to be lost at the next general election. And I know some of you were surprised that I'm not quite writing Boris Johnson off yet. Well, look, Boris has been written off a lot of times when you look at the London mayoral team, when you look at those who said he would never be Tory leader, when you look at those who said he would never be able to get a Conservative majority. Boris Johnson shouldn't yet be counted out, in my opinion. However, he needs to keep together that coalition of traditional Conservative support, Labour Leave voters and former UKIP or Brexit Party voters. And one of the big challenges his government now face is on illegal migration, of course, where we have just seen a huge surge. I think it's around 28,000 people in 2021 who came across from France to England on small boats illegally. And the figures that we saw disclosed last year was that only 5 people have been deported. And yet we see the government commit to the ECHR instead of leaving the ECHR, as Theresa May said should be done when she was Home Secretary. And you throw into the mix the fact that I think Labour are going to do, either formally or informally, a deal with the likes of the Lib Dems, the Greens, maybe even the SNP in return for another referendum, with Labour looking to get Starmer into Downing Street. Boris Johnson and the Conservatives have to keep that coalition together, and illegal migration, Home Secretary Priti Patel needs to get a grip on this illegal migration situation. Otherwise, sadly, we're going to see what is already a very dangerous situation get even worse in 2022. And Priti Patel put out a message over the New Year period, basically setting out the priorities of the government, saying more police, less crime, deterring illegal migration. Here is a clip of what Priti Patel had to say. Let me know what you make of this.
I will also continue to prioritise fixing our broken asylum system. It has been untouched for 2 decades, but passing our Borders Bill into law in 2022 will finally give us the powers we need to deliver long overdue change. A fairer system, deterring illegal entry across the Channel by cracking down on people smugglers and ending the legal merry-go-round of spurious asylum claims, is what the British people expect, and we will deliver.
And finally, I forgot to mention, in terms of potential policies the Conservatives could adopt to win back support, get back on track, it's the BBC licence fee, isn't it? It's one of those issues that doesn't get much talk about from journalists, I guess, who want to get invited onto the BBC. But let's not forget, I've shown repeated polls that show overall the British public think the BBC should be funded through advertising and or subscriptions. And they think that the BBC licence fee is totally and wildly unfair. In fact, YouGov did recent polling showing it's taxed with the least amount of public support in the UK now. Just 21% of the country say that the BBC licence fee is fair. That has less backing than council tax, inheritance tax, fuel duty, stamp duty, income tax, national insurance, tobacco. So when the government are looking to cut taxes, maybe they should start with the BBC licence fee. And yet we have a situation now where Nadine Dorries coming in as Culture Secretary, who of course has been very critical of the BBC. It's looking like the BBC could face a slight cut under the licence fee deal. A deal set to be concluded by at the end of this month. The licence fee to be held below inflation, but could rise again towards the end of 2027. That's according to the Times. I thought it was interesting, by the way, that the day after the Times had that story, you actually had the BBC's boss, Tim Davie, pledging tireless work to justify the licence fee with a piece. Our creative industries are the envy of the world, and the BBC licence fee is vital to their success. Look, if the BBC is that vital, surely people should be left to decide if they want to pay and use its services or not. Let me know what you make of all of that in the comments below, guys. Have you seen much coverage of the removal of the EU flag in France, which, as I said, I think is a major story as we look ahead to that French presidential election? If you've enjoyed this video, please do give this a big thumbs up. And as ever, thanks for watching.